So let's settle for the details of what we have for you this afternoon on the pod. Of course, you can join with your comments, with your concerns on our social media handles, Facebook, YouTube, X, and of course, myjoyonline.com. Now, it's been one of its worst battering years, with the city now struggling to cope with the strength of the dollar, the pound sterling, and the euro, and all other major currencies. Now, the city currently trades at 15 cedis to the US dollars, with significant depreciation against the euro and the British pound sterling, causing concerns among the business community about the ripple effect on their transactions. And we've put together something to let you appreciate the difficulty the city finds itself in as we look to get more understanding of the situation and what government intends to do. The Vice President is bidding to lead the country in 2025. He has his own solution to the issue at hand. But this is the situation. And if you look at the trajectory, I mean, you are looking at between May of 2024 as of May of 2029, and we've moved from 14.52 all the way to 14.65. So that's how the city is trading. There's been a steady rise, and it started, our focus from the 22nd of May all the way to the 29th of May, just within a period of 1 week, if you like, and that's how it's moved. Even the government will tell us that the rate of depreciation is not so bad compared to the same period last year. What you see is that you need more cedis to buy the US dollar. And as we speak today, it is trading at 14.65, in some places 15.3. In other places, it can go as much as almost 16 Ghana cedis. And for the pound sterling, it's between 18 and 19 cedis, and then between 15.5 and 16 cedis also for the euro. Well, the situation has caught the attention of the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, who has been sharing some ideas to stabilize the city. Speaking during his bold solutions for the future stakeholder engagement with labor unions this afternoon, he attributed the challenges facing the city to the lack of a stable anchor for the city. He identified the country's natural resources, particularly gold, as a game changer in transforming the economy, and plans to back the currency with gold to strengthen the city. Listen to what he intends doing if he becomes president in 2025.
How much did we have to go and borrow from the IMF? 3 billion over 3 years. But we can get 3 billion a year in gold from the small-scale mining sector alone. Alone. That changes our balance of payments completely. Completely. This is every year you can get this. And it's there. It's being mined every year, taken out to India, to Dubai, and other places. So I want us, essentially, I made mention of this on February 7th, that ultimately my goal is that we are going to back our currency with gold. That is where I want us to go. Increasingly back our currency with gold, because it is very easy for us to do so if you keep having the gold reserves. And that will keep a lot of stability in the exchange market. Because right now, we don't have an anchor to hold the currency. But if we back it with gold, it will be very stable, because its value ultimately will be reflected by the value of gold, which is very stable. And so this is a major change that I want us to bring in, to look at the management of our natural resources and look at how we can accumulate gold to back our currency and increase our reserves. And once we are accumulating gold to the level of $3 billion equivalent every year, you can just imagine what will happen in 10 years for this country. Then it just changes completely. Completely. So you are accumulating this gold and you are backing your currency with it. And that makes it a completely new natural resource management regime. So you are controlling your resources. You are getting a stronger currency as a result. And that is where I believe Ghana should be going. And these small-scale miners, we will essentially support them. And this is why I want to establish a minerals development bank. A minerals development bank to help our mining sector. We don't only have gold, we have lithium and all other things. But if we get a financial institution that will focus on this, I believe that we can really help them, the mining companies, get a lot of equipment that is needed, because that is ultimately what is needed to mine the gold responsibly. And that is what we will do. We will make sure we empower our miners and have control over our resources and make the resources, the returns.
Well, organized labor appears to like the idea, but they say they will keep an eagle eye on it to ensure it's implemented to the letter. Here's Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, Dr. Yalba.
These are all things that whoever comes to power should get these ideas. Whoever comes to power must not leave these ideas. These are great ideas. And what we have put in our manifesto is supposed to guide our relationship with any government that comes to power. And we intend to work with any government that comes to power to implement what we have in our manifesto. What Bawumia said was very simple. He said Ghana has what it takes to become an advanced country. And that really was a very powerful message. So then he went on to talk about what Ghana has. And one of the things that we have had for hundreds of years is gold. So he is saying that we should not have anything backing our currency but our gold. And I think that was perfect. What we say and how we implement it sometimes is a problem. If indeed we are able to implement all the ideas that Bawumia shared with us today, this country will not be the same. It doesn't matter who is in charge. I think the ideas stand, and the ideas are great.
Do you think backing the city with gold will be the best antidote in stabilizing the currency?
I think so. I share that idea, very much so. Because you cannot support your currency with anything but the natural resource we have. We are very lucky to have gold.
How does the TUC intend to hold these political parties accountable?
Of course, we engage them. We have started engagement even when they are campaigning. We hope that when they finally take over power, this kind of engagements will continue. Because it is through this dialogue that we are able to influence policy. It is through this dialogue that we are able to say, this is not going well, this is going well, keep doing that, this is not going well, stop it.
So the question is, how viable is this proposal? Now, let's explore this matter. Joining us is Dr. Benjamin Amoah, financial analyst and senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. Dr. Amoah, good afternoon and welcome to the Pulse.
Having me.
Right. So, I mean, the vice president was quite clear that the reason the city is struggling is because there is no anchor. And he intends to fix this problem with gold, natural resources, using gold to help stabilize the city. I mean, I don't know how, to the best of your understanding, how feasible this is.
In the past, if you have gone through the history of currency management, you realize that there was a period in time where gold was used as a strategy to maintain the value of currency. That is what we call the gold standard. However, it got to a point in time that the whole world realized that it wasn't feasible to use the gold standard. And so it was abandoned for the fixed exchange rate system to the current floating exchange rate system that we have. So the use of commodities to back currencies are not new. It's just that the preference for many economic managers of the world is to allow the currencies to find their natural strength based on demand and supply condition, and not using the natural commodities or resources that we have. And so it will be good to know what actually will go into this policy that will make it different from where the world has transitioned from over 40, 50 years ago, to let it make it look as if it is new for us to have a strong currency. In fact, as we speak now, countries like China, Turkey, and India, their central banks are purchasing gold. BOG itself, about 2 or 3 years, started purchasing gold as part of diversifying its reserves to support the currency. So yes, it is not new, but the world has moved on. So there should be something special that we don't know about this particular arrangement that will give our CD some strength.
I'll come back to ask what, in your view, maybe solutions, if you like, in terms of what the Vice President is proposing. But from your reading of the situation, what really is the problem as we face today that is making the city so unable to catch up with the rest of the trading currencies?
Okay, now we all know that we have gone through a debt exchange program. We all know that our economy is not as strong as it used to be years ago. Look, inflation is high. Monetary policy rate is about 29. Interest rate is high. Unemployment is high. Clearly, if you have this situation on the ground and your import and exports are not really balancing, this particular situation we have on the ground is not strange. Countries that time and time again have had challenges in managing their currencies have posted poor fundamentals. And these poor fundamentals has been compounded by speculative attacks that we are having on our currency. So it is not as if we have the economy under control and our currency is weak. Our economy, as we speak now, is not in the best of shape, compounded by speculative activity. So it is just natural that if you're a small economy like Ghana, and you have opened up so much and you do a lot of import, in addition to your fundamentals, naturally your currency will be weak. So we need to look at it from that point of view and accept that this is the situation we find ourselves in. Until we start having strong fundamentals, this condition will persist. I'm sorry to say.
Some justification for what is happening to the city. I mean, he mentioned, for example, the payment of almost 49 billion Ghana cedis to contractors, the payment of $400 million to independent power producers, and then also linked what could be happening to speculators. I mean, to what extent is speculation an issue in these circumstances?
Okay, as we speak now, if you go to the banks will give you what they have in terms of how much they are bidding for forex, especially the dollar from VOG. They'll have the numbers. And so you look at how much the banks are requesting for and how much VOG itself is releasing to the banks. The difference is what the banks must look for to meet the demand and request from their clients. So clearly that should give you an idea of how much we need. And the businessman who needs to pay for his goods will go at all lengths to make sure that he gets the dollars, buy the goods, and come to sell. And so clearly, if we are still importing in the midst of all the, what I'll call the below supply expectation from Bank of Ghana,
right,
and still we are paying for goods and services that is imported, it means that these dollars are coming from somewhere. And definitely, it will affect how much we will quote the dollar for the cedi, because there's short supply and there's high demand. And that is what we are facing now.
So, Dr. Abba, imagine we're still paying our debts. What situation would have been?
That would be interesting to see, because if you are paying the debt and you are paying hard currency dollars, then it means that you have to find a way of getting the dollars in addition to the current situation that we find ourselves in. I will not be able to say, but your guess is good as mine, because even without servicing the hard currency debts, we are having this challenge. So you can imagine if we have to add on and meet that. Clearly, our situation has been much more worse than what we see today.
So therefore, mismanagement cannot be ruled out in this discussion.
That is partly true, because if you look at what has happened, you can say that it's more of the fiscal dominance that has taken control of our monetary policy, and that is what has thrown our monetary policy out of order. If you look at what BOG has done so far, if we had managed our fiscal side, government expenditure, government revenue, then that would have supported the success stories we've had from the monetary side, which is how to control the money in the system. But we are not being able to do that because fiscal dominance has been so strong, and that has pulled Bank of Ghana to find it difficult to bring some sort of stability as far as the monetary aspect of the economy is concerned. But then back to the gold argument.
Exactly.
Clearly, if we want to use the gold to support our currency, we need to sit down and look at it because gold itself is a volatile commodity. The prices are not stable. What it means is that you must at each point in time have the same amount of gold in reserve compared to the amount of money you have in supply. If gold prices should decline, it means that you have more money out there than the reserve that you have. Exactly. That is going to pose a challenge. And so we need to clearly understand that particular policy. You don't forget that once you go into gold and other natural resources to support your currency, there are environmental concerns in how we are going to mine the gold, the crude oil to build the reserve. Do we have enough environmental safety nets to make sure that these minerals will be mined in such a way that it doesn't compromise on the quality of the environment, especially in a world that we are going green and concern on environmental issues are very much, a concern to everyone. We need to also understand perfectly how we can manage that environmental concern in our quest to use natural resources to support the currency. What is going to happen to BOG? Are we going to see the monetary responsibility of managing the forex to another agency, or Bank of Ghana is going to add it to what they are already doing? If you are talking about a mixture of currencies, that is not just gold. And so BOG itself, as we speak now, is overburdened with deposit-taking institutions, industries' responsibility.
Right.
We want to now add on not just demand and supply aspect of currency management, but then commodity aspect to BOG's responsibility. We need to look at it again and see how feasible BOG will be able to, or that agency will be able to do that without compromising on the additional areas of monetary policy that BOG must consider in our quest to control money and the supply of money in the system. So we need to also look at that and make sure that it is done and done in a proper way.
But
how
again,
are we going to manage and store the currencies or the minerals? There's the issue of security cost that we also have to consider. So maybe we need to see the policy, and then when we see the details of the policy, we see how some of these concerns may have been addressed or will be addressed in the approach going forward in managing the currency, using gold or commodities to back the currency.
But how do you derive the maximum benefit from gold, for example, if that is the only option that we are saddled with to use? More especially when that sector is in the hands of the private sector. Government has no direct role in terms of ownership.
Yeah, so what we'll do is that we will have to purchase the gold from the producers. So BOG must do that and purchase the gold from the producers so that we can hold the gold. So that any currency we now issue, we back it with our gold. Even in an extreme case that, I'm using the word extreme case that we need to sell, we are going to sell the gold for hard currency. And that will also come out to support our currency. So clearly, you have a point by saying that it's in the hands of foreigners. But then we can also buy from them if we need to. We should not forget that we have a lot of small-scale miners in the system who BOG can also buy from to build our reserves. So clearly, we can do that. But it is more than that. The environmental concern. And if you even want to diversify the pool of natural resources, gold, oil, and other resources, we need to look at how best we can manage the environmental distractions or concern that will come with this. It is feasible, but the question is, if the world has moved away from gold standard years ago,
why do you want to go there?
That's the question. Maybe there's something that we need to know.
But again, if you look at the oil for gold deal, does that offer some kind of a foundation to analyze it properly and say that we can replicate this in terms of dealing with the currency? Even though some have argued that we've not really benefited much from the oil for gold deal, and that should raise concern.
Yeah, as we speak now, BDCs are complaining that they don't get enough forex, and until recently we had gold for oil. So what has been the success story of gold for oil? If we can get the numbers, then we can speak to what the success stories has been for gold for oil in terms of we having crude at the pumps and also we having some stability in the currency. Look, the past 2 years has been very terrible for the Ghana cedi. And that's the same period that we had gold for oil. So Are we saying that but for gold, for oil to have been worse? Nobody knows. So we need to look at what the data is and then speak to it and try to guess and see if indeed gold for oil had some positive impact on the value of our Ghana cedi.
So if I should ask you for solutions beyond the skepticism you have about using gold to stabilize the cedi, what should that be?
We need to get the basis right. You know, it appears that we don't want to do the tough things, that is to invest and to build the structural difficulties we have in the economy. We have opened up our economy. That is point number one. So we are buying and selling just like any other country is doing. So if you are not producing enough, we will definitely have to import. We are not doing that. We are not putting in place measures to do that. Countries can retaliate when you decide to impose tariffs or ban on their product because your export is their import. And so clearly we need to sit down and see how best we can have control over our economy. The truth of the matter is this. Look, all countries that have been successful at some of these things have, at a point in time in their history, looked inwards.
Right.
Why are we not doing that? So we need to be looking at it. Sadly, the government came up with this policy of trying to impose some bans on certain items. The policy was not very clear.
Yeah, it is so pending.
And the roadmap was not very clear. And so questions came up because the government could not tell us what exactly they wanted to achieve by timelines so that we could just know how we are going to move along that path. And so the government had to abandon it. If we had proper policy in place and we had a better way of measuring it, we could have gone with maybe 15% reduction, 30, 25 in that scale, so that we know that by 5 years' time, we are self-sufficient in these areas. We didn't do that. The point I'm trying to make is that we need to look inward and we need to get it done right if we want to look at it over the long term. In the short term, BOG must still come in to support the Ghana cedi because the Ghana cedi is not strong. If we should allow the market itself to fix the value, the Ghana cedi is going to go way beyond 20 cedis. I mean, so BOG must definitely support. Yeah.
Some people, some analysts who have spoken to us, those who are into the import and export sector, I mean, they've made it clear that you look at the kind of things we bring into the country. Containers, shipping companies bring containers into the country. The containers they bring, 80 to 90% go back empty. It means we are not exporting enough. So all these solutions that we probably have to deal with the cedi may be temporary. The root cause has not been fixed, and until that is fixed, we'll continue to have this debate almost every quarter. And that's
absolutely.
For me, yeah.
Absolutely, you're right. You're right. In fact, what you just said is a perfect description of the situation on the ground. You don't even need to be an expert in international finance or an individual trading in or engaging in international business. Just drive from the shopping mall area to Tema. Look at the nature of the road. Get to the motor runabout, make a U-turn, and then drive from the Tema motorway end to Accra. And look at the quality of that same road. Realize that coming from Tema to Accra is worse than moving from shopping mall to Tema.
Exactly.
That should tell you and depict the nature of economy we have in terms of import and export. We have heavy items coming into the country that are moving out to the country. That should clearly demonstrate to you that we are not doing enough when it comes to using our trade to support our currency because we import more than we export. And we need to fix that. It's as simple as that. It is difficult, but we need to just work on it.
Some traders are pushing hard and saying that government should work hard to ensure that the cedi to the dollar hits around 10 cedis before the end of the year. Is it feasible?
From what we are saying, that would be a wish. It would have been everybody's desire to have that. But if you look at where we are, that would be very, very difficult. 10 Ghana cedis to a dollar is about 3 years ago's rate.
Yes.
And we are almost 3 years away from, or we have moved 3 years on. it is not feasible. It is not. It is something we can work on. But if you look at what we find ourselves in now, we are almost halfway through the year. It will be very, very difficult, if not impossible, for us to achieve that. Maybe we can talk about stability now, so that we can at least have a long span of a stable cedi, than to say that the cedi will recover. What will take the cedi to recover? We have not been doing it in the past. And I don't think that within these 6 months, we're able to do that to get the cedi to recover the lost grounds that the cedi has recovered.
All right.
That is not possible. Maybe we are talking about stability, so that in the next 6 months, we are not going to see the surge that we have seen. But we can maintain it around maybe 15, not more than 16. That's okay. But to go back, that would be a surprise.
All right. Dr. Amar, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Always a pleasure speaking to you. And of course, his reaction to the Vice President's proposal to use gold or natural resources to help deal with the depreciation of the cedi. And that is one of the things that he says he would do if elected President of the Republic. He met the Trade Union Congress this afternoon to outline his vision for the TUC. Now.